Welcome to all of you to our second 2020 virtual town hall. You can see me and two or three others. I can't actually see you at all. So welcome, I'm sure you're there and it's good to spend time with you. We've got about up to an hour this morning, so we'll finish by 1:30 at the very latest. What we're going to do is give you a chance to hear from Steph McNally, who's one of our co-chairs of Congregation Council, to see the results of our congregation survey, and thank you to all of you who completed that, and then to have time for a Q&A at the end. If you do have questions, you're welcome to type them in anytime during this webinar. There should be a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So just tap on that, type in your question, and it will go to Mahogany, who will then bring the questions together and give them to me and to Steph. I also wanted to begin with greetings from Malcolm. He sends his warmest wishes to everybody and wanted to let you all know that he's praying for all of us every day. He's working at the moment on studying Hebrew, on completing all of Barth, reading that is, Karl Barth, and hoping to do some writing at the end of that all. It's time away for him to refresh himself, to do some of the study that he loves, and to also have time to be the surfing dean that he is. Jeremy and I bumped into him on Ocean Beach last Monday, just coming in from surfing, so that when he joins us on the Tuesday after Labor Day, he'll be refreshed and ready to lead us all into whatever the next few months and few years are going to look like. And I wanted to give some time this morning to Steph. Steph is with Sarah Benjamin, one of the co-chairs of our Congregation Council. That's been a key way of holding the congregation together and providing lay leadership, particularly during these COVID months. So I'm going to invite Steph to say a bit about what the experience of being a parishioner, a congregant at Grace Cathedral has been for her through COVID, and to share with you some of what Congregation Council has done and some of what they plan to be doing. So Steph, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ellen. It's an amazing honour to be speaking today. I so appreciate the support. I have been reflecting to sort of talk about what the last few months have meant. It does absolutely make sense to begin by talking about my response as a congregant. I know, like everyone who's on the call today, the last months have been, of course, change that's immeasurable. I know through so many conversations we've had that for so many of us, it feels like the world has turned upside down. As a congregant, I've been really aware of needing, I suppose, both a sense of community and also wanting to find a way through my faith community to respond to the events we see around us, particularly events around racism and racial justice. I've been so grateful to find so many opportunities to respond through grace. Just to touch on a few of those ways, in addition to, of course, the online services that have just been wonderful every Sunday. I've been so grateful for the morning prayers. I have more than I ever imagined for myself joining morning prayer at 9 a.m. and it's been so wonderful to see and to pray with the community as well as with clergy. I have loved every opportunity I've had to get to Monday night Bible study, and that again has just been a faith exploration but also a way to connect to my community. And I've been so grateful for different ministries and activities that Grace has continued to offer, including and especially Education for Ministry, which has continued to meet by Zoom, as well as Zoom time for families with children, led by Reverend Mary Carter, and it's been just wonderful to participate in that. I think through exploration of faith with young people, I find my own faith refreshed, especially in these times. I know that we have all been so moved and desirous of doing more in the face of racism and racial justice. I've been empowered and moved by the various ways in which Grace has responded to that. I know that a number of them are documented on the website, certainly inviting Anna Devere Smith to speak, lay leaders within our community who have written powerful blogs addressing racism, and of course, Dr. Alan Clark King's statement and other statements on these have all meant a great deal. So if I move from this into how I think the Congregation Council has responded and found a role to participate within this, I would say that the council has probably moved from the same kind of feelings that I've just outlined here about myself as an individual congregant. We've wanted to look at both how we can connect with and continue to connect with our community. That, of course, is what we've always done. And also to continue to champion initiatives around racial justice, social justice, respond to these times. Just to touch on a few of these ways, and I should say that absolutely everything we've done has been in partnership with Office of Congregation, as well as wonderful members of Grace community. It's ways in which we felt connected to you. We have to first of all talk about what we did to support the Grace community. One of the early initiatives we were able to commence with, really working with Pete Young, as well as members of the congregation, was start our Homebound But Not Alone phone tree. 30 members of the Grace community put their hands up to become callers, and they reached out to over 60 other members. So all in all, something like 100 people have been involved in this initiative. And the feedback we've heard, the ways that people have connected across the aisles, as it were, for the first time, it's been just wonderful. That initiative, like a number of the ones I'm just going to touch on now, is ongoing. I think we will drop the link in the chat. If you would like a call or you'd like to be involved in that, please let us know. We found a way to continue the great Congregation Council tradition of coffee hour online. Working with Jirimri and again with Ofcom, we have been present for coffee hour every Sunday. Despite getting early emails saying, what on earth is a virtual coffee hour? We've had wonderful attendance. And what's been lovely is that we've had both regular attendance. We've really got to know each other as a community through this. We've also had people come join us once or come join us from other communities. I'm really passionate about this. I think it gives us a great way to connect. We would love to see you, and we'd love to hear from you about what else you might like to see from a coffee hour. Like the other initiatives I'm going to talk on, these are things we continue to look at and think about ways to change. We will drop the link in the chat, but basically if you've got any feedback on that, we'd love to hear from you at congregation@gracecathedral.org. We also held a newcomers Q&A brunch in June. That was really successful, and we'd like to have more. We suddenly realized, and we had feedback from Heather Millar, that we had had something like 50 newcomers start actually since the pandemic. So that was a lovely way to reach out, have conversations and connect. We are hoping to have one a bit later in the year again, so please watch this space. We, as I say, we really as a council wanted to continue doing the things that we do each year. So we are, I'm excited to say, looking to have some form of Congregation Sunday, which will take place on September the 13th. We are working out details. Please watch this space. Again, that's something we would love to hear from you if you have any feedback about how that could work. Please do give us an email. Just having gone through the community events that we've organised, I also wanted just to speak quickly to what we've done to respond to social justice. Again, really working with Ellen and Jerim and other members of the clergy, as well as lay leaders who've given us guidance every way. From early on, we really worked in our leadership within council, worked to respond to particular challenges of racism, ongoing always. I know it's an eternal issue, but that we saw really flaring up now. Lisa Wong, our social justice subcommittee leader, wrote a wonderful blog post and call to action about anti-Asian racism, responding to what has been rising. From early on, we were really involved in a number of conversations through coffee hours and other forums about responding to George Floyd and the ongoing challenges for racial justice. Council voted early on that we really wanted to respond to this. We voted to support the collection that was taken the week Anna Devere preached to be donated to a local non-profit. We've continued to explore ways we can respond. Council supported the recent wonderful screening and discussion of 13th, the very powerful documentary, and the subsequent discussion that was led by Drimri and Alma Robinson, which was just wonderful. We are exploring as a group BIPOC organisations we can partner with to continue to learn from and support, especially those in the Bay Area. And in the near future, I'm pleased to say we are looking to support the formation of a justice ministry, which will be throughout the Congregation of Grace, but that we really want to give our support to and ensure that this justice ministry works to install racial equity both within and external to our community. Finally, I should give a very quick shout out to Nicole Stahl, who has managed to keep Fill a Need going. Nicole has mobilized the community to create masks. I should say that if you feel a calling to do this, even if you're not naturally a sewer, I know we have a number of roles. Please check out the link, which I believe will be dropped in the chat. We are looking for people to collect and deliver as well as sew. And we also would love to hear from you if you know of someone who needs a mask. So I must just finish by saying none of this could have happened without the council team, clergy, and you, the congregation. We would just love to hear from you if you've got feedback about anything we've covered. And thank you. I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you, Steph. I can't say too much about how much of a support Congregation Council has been to clergy and staff throughout these months. They've been essential for helping us to feel connected and for helping us to know how we might be able to reach out and be of most use and help to the congregation generally. And the other part of helping us know how to help you is the annual congregational survey that we've been doing. I think this is the 4th, maybe even the 5th year of that. And we're going to have some, Mahogany's going to share her screen now. So we'll have some slides that'll take you through some of the highlights of the survey, and I'll talk through them as they come up. And just to say first, there were 135 people who responded to the survey. So that was slightly less than we've had in previous years. The majority of those who revealed their age were around the 60-year age mark, but at least a third of people chose not to say. So we're not sure what the age profile is altogether. We ask each year what the sort of general level of satisfaction is with the cathedral, so we can have a broad sense of how well we are meeting people's needs. And it's always a relief and a delight to get results, as we did this year, that 97% of respondents were either satisfied or very satisfied with both the in-person services and scheduling that we had before COVID, and with the online services and scheduling post-COVID. Gratitude for online services was extreme, and also for the commitment to social justice. And I'm delighted that in these last few weeks, we've been able to extend the teams who are offering our worship on Sundays, so that now all the cathedral clergy are having a chance both to preach and to preside and to sort of exercise their vocations and give a greater diversity of voices for the congregation. So thank you to all the team who are making that happen. And I'm not sure it's sort of obvious that we are there, those of us who are up front, but there is such a dedicated team of tech people who are making all of these services happen, who are putting together the wonderful B-roll, all those photos you see in the background, who are making sure that the pictures and sound are clear and good and easy to follow. So we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to them, and to our musicians who are willing to come in and take the risk of singing together in order that we have something beautiful and worshipful to be part of on a Sunday morning. So thank you to all those people. We asked a question about personal spiritual practices, partly because we aren't able to be together in a group. And so we were wondering what people were doing to feed themselves spiritually in between Zooming or watching online. Down the bottom of the slide, you'll see there's a little word cloud of the words that came up most frequently in answer to this. So meditation and prayer, daily reading, justice work, walking, reflection, are all things that our congregation are doing separately to keep themselves, to keep yourselves fed and connected with the divine in this time when we're apart. We have done a couple of Saturday morning virtual retreats for people when we've been able to explore some of our more personal, private spirituality together. And we're hoping to offer another one of those in August or September. So if you feel like your sort of own personal prayer life, spiritual life could do with a boost, or you just need some time on a weekend to ground yourself in the reality of God and the divine, then do look out for that and sign up and come and join us in a short prayer pilgrimage one Saturday. We ask each year which social justice issue is most important to our congregation. And the number one issue, not surprisingly this year, was racism, with homelessness, income inequality, and climate change all following closely behind that. And as many of us know, all these issues are interrelated. Homelessness, income inequality, and indeed climate change hit communities of colour harder and sooner than they hit white communities. So when we look at the whole issue of racism and anti-racism, we're looking at a whole connected web of injustices that we want to do what we can to bring attention to and to bring change to. You may know that the Cathedral is currently working with 2 outside consultants on our social justice programme. So we're looking both at what sort of subject matter Grace can best address, what as Cathedral we can most effectively do to have a real impact in causing change, positive change in social justice areas. And also with my departure, how we can continue and grow this work once I'm no longer here. So there will be a report from the consultants, which will be going to the trustees, we hope, in early mid-September, and will then go to the congregation too. So we can look together at how we can continue this work and make Grace, both in its internal workings, a beacon for social justice, and in what it does externally in the city of San Francisco. And one of the big questions that is on, I think, everybody's minds, it's certainly on the minds and hearts of all those of us who are on the clergy and on the staff, is when we can return to in-person worship. And we wanted to, in this survey, to get a sense of how ready the congregation felt to return and what sort of structures you might think would need to be in place, or sort of limitations you would want to see in place before you did come back. And it is absolutely no surprise that the vast majority of people are looking forward very much to the time when we can worship together again. And within that, being very aware that healthy practices, both that we can put in place as Cathedral staff and that congregation members commit to as congregation, are essential in an ongoing way to both make this possible to start and sustainable to continue. A third of people felt that they were comfortable with whatever number of folk were able to regather in the cathedral, whereas a third of people wanted a limit of 50 people to ensure that there could be appropriate social distancing within the space that we have, and to keep the sort of risk of infection lower. Some of the themes, one of the highest themes, and we asked people why, what is it that you want to experience again? I think the highest was worshipping with others, being back in community, being back not on Zoom, but seeing one another face to face, even if we can't hug each other at the peace, at least be able to make eye contact and to be in the physical presence of one another as we worship. The next one was being back in the sacred space of the cathedral. Our building is so beautiful, and it holds so many memories for many of us of high and low points in our lives, of wonderful Christmases and Easters, of baptisms and weddings and funerals. And there is a real ache to see that space again and to be able to use that space for what it was created and intended for, which is the worship of God. And the third thing was just the return to in-person music and to in-person liturgy, so that rather than just spiritually contemplating the bread and wine, we can find a way for to receive it again, to be back having communion, to strengthen us and send us out to do the work that God calls us to do. And just to keep you up to date with where we are in thinking at the moment, we will not be back in person before the 1st of October. We're certain that that's not going to be doable. From then on, we're going to look each month at what will be possible, knowing that it's going to take us 3 or 4 weeks to build a structure that could hold both in-person and online worship and do both well. So we'll be looking in early to mid-September at whether we might open in November. But at the moment, all we can say is we're sure we won't open before the 1st of October. When we do gather for worship, we may start off outside with some simpler services on the plaza before we can then move inside. And just to reassure you, as we look towards Advent and Christmas, we're already making plans so that if we are not able to be together, that we can still have a way of celebrating Christmas that is both joyful and meaningful and feels like Christmas. So we're hoping that we might be able to do something hybrid. We're not going to stop being online anytime soon, because we want to make sure that there is a way for everyone to worship, however vulnerable they are, however careful they are about not contracting COVID. So we will continue that, and we will be together again just as soon as we can do so safely without putting any of you at risk. We love you, God loves you. We don't want to do anything that could cause harm to any member of our congregation. So again, thank you to all the 135 people who did complete this survey. We're going to continue doing these because it's so helpful for us to have a sense of where all of you are. And I can't speak for the other clergy, but I think I am when saying how much I miss just the chance to shake hands at the end of a service, to catch up on people's news when it isn't something of great significance, but is something meaningful to them, to just be able to hear the joyful things and also the sad things that have happened, and feel that we're together in a way that it's hard to be online. So thank you to everyone who filled this in and everyone who's here today for making that more possible. And we're going to move now into the question and answer section of the meeting. So if you have questions, please put them, find the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, click on that, and the questions will go to Mahogany, who will then send them to me and also to Steph, and between us we will try and answer them as well as we can. And I see the first question there, which is a very good one, which is, how is the cathedral doing financially during the pandemic? We were very fortunate to get one of the government grants to support our payroll through April through June. So that was a great gift to us and made a big difference to our finances. We're still in the stage of trying to work out how we're doing with stewardship and donations. This is traditionally a slow time of year, July and August, for both of those. So we will have a clearer picture in September. We are staying in close contact with all our donors as much as we can, particularly and making sure there are opportunities for those who are joining us in live stream to continue to give to the cathedral. Generally on a Sunday morning, we get about $1,000 in donations, which is about half of what we would expect to be getting if we were together in person. We've only so far had to end one job where the person wasn't able to work. We've had a little bit of, when people have moved away and retired, we won't necessarily replace everybody. So we're trying to be as financially conservative and careful as we can, while also wanting to continue to keep the level of programming that we do and to be as good and generous an employer as we can to all our staff who give so much more than just their hours of work to making Grace Cathedral what it is. So I don't think there's any financial security for anybody in COVID days, and we don't know where the economy is going to go. But we're doing all that we can to be as careful as we can and as to invite as much participation and donation as we can. And another good question, how many people do we believe are participating in the various cathedral services and programs online? We are keeping a very good eye on this, and it's fascinating to sort of work out how to deal with the raw numbers that we get. When we started online, we would often get about 2,000 people watching us, which sounds fabulous and is fabulous. But when you look at the numbers, some of those 2,000 were watching us for 3 seconds as they scrolled through to something else. So the actual sort of counting we've done is looking at people who watch for a minute or 10 minutes and longer to get a real sense of people who are engaging rather than just happening to run across us and then running away again. So around sort of Easter and up to Easter and the weeks before summer, then at 11 o'clock on Sunday, on the Sunday and over the next few days, we would have between about 1,000 and 1,500 people who were either watching at the time or watching the service afterwards. Now, as is usual in the summer months, that has dipped a bit. So we're between about 800 and 1,000 people, which is still far more than we would usually get on a Sunday. And for Evensong, our Thursday Evensong, I think we're around a couple of hundred people for that. Jude, if you want to stick in the chat how many we are for the Vine, I think we're also around the 100 to 200, but I might be wrong. It'd be great to hear. And the 6 o'clock, which is a Zoom service rather than a live stream service, has around about 30 people, but we're now live streaming some of that, so expect to see the participation grow. And in our small groups, we had about 80 or 90, I think, people join in the small groups, which were very beloved and very successful. And we're hoping to offer more again, either later this month or early in September. So if you didn't get a chance to be in a small group last time, I highly recommend it as a way to stay in touch. And we'll let you know what we're doing with those as soon as we have more information. And Steph, I think you would say that the numbers you've seen of people in Congregation Council everyone has been very engaged and has stayed very much part of the group.
Absolutely. I think, so we've been very happy with the coffee hour. We have a regular group, and what's nice is that sometimes people might take a bit of time off and then come back to us after a few weeks, which I imagine is the nature with these things. It's great if we can offer them continuously. Again, can't say enough about my council team that has stayed engaged, and I know we were very excited for the screening of the 13th, how many attended both the screening and the follow-up discussion, which I think bodes well for these kind of social justice activities that Congregation is very keen to get involved in.
And we are very aware of the phenomenon of Zoom fatigue for people who are online a lot for their work and then just want a break from their screens, which is one reason why our virtual summer camp, rather than being a screen-based one, was an activity-based one, so that the kids could have something to do other than sit at their screens, but make music and write stories and be creative and have as much summer fun as it was possible for us to give them. So a huge shout out to Mary Carter Green for her imagination and thoughtfulness in bringing that together. And again, we sent out for that 50 boxes to 50 families. So through not being in person, we were able to reach a greater number of people than we would have done if we'd been gathering at the Cathedral. I see a question. Do you expect the Cathedral will continue offering online services after the pandemic is finally fully over? And with an, I hope so, because they're wonderful. I think we are delighted to have had the chance to, even if it wasn't the way we wanted to do this, to get to know how to offer online worship. And that's still definitely going to continue once the pandemic has ended. When you look at sort of who is there watching our services, it's, you know, the largest number are our own members and sort of San Franciscans and Bay Area people. But there's always folk from across the States, often from Australia and England and Austria, I think we've had people from. So there is a wish to connect with grace by people who would never be able to be here with us on a Sunday morning. So we will continue to do that. I'm not sure exactly what it will look like, but expect to have a Grace online service as well as a Grace in-person service from this time onwards. Will we be renewing the small Zoom Bible study group in September? Yes, I think this is something that's very dear to Malcolm's heart, and it's being sort of babysat by the other clergy at the moment to keep the space there for Malcolm to come back into in September. So my expectation is that it will be there and we'll get another push once Malcolm's back. And again, just so everyone knows, Malcolm's first day back with us at full work again is the Tuesday after Labor Day, which I think is September the 8th. So from then on, I would think that he would take the reins of the Bible study back again. And Steph, I think that's something you're going to, and I'm going to pass over to you so I can drink some water.
Oh yes, thank you. I have been, as I said, it's strange how out of the pandemic you find yourself connecting in ways that you haven't previously. I know that the Bible study on Monday night has been one of a number of studies that are happening. I believe there's another one on Thursday. Again, a really great attendance where I'd say there's a combination of people who attend every week and people who alternate a bit. which is great. You don't have to come every week at all. Come when you can. It is a way to look at and reflect on passages. It is so lovely to be able to discuss in this way with other members, other interested members of the community, as well as to have a clergy person present. And what's always a nice thing that seems to have worked out this way is that almost always at the moment in particular, the person leading the study is giving the sermon at a later point, often on that passage. So you find yourself in real time offering thoughts and reflections that may just end up somehow influencing the sermon, or at least giving people some inspiration around that. So it's a really lovely, special way to connect. Very relaxed, no preparation needed, come as you are, which is always a nice thing for this kind of thing on a Monday night.
I must say, one of my favourite things over this COVID time has been the small group that I was involved in leading, and just the chance to be with sort of 9 or 10 other people talking about sort of real faith questions. A number of us said that we hadn't really believed that you could form friendships over Zoom, but we found that we could do that. And that's been such a warm experience with people. And there's a question, where is the Dean? Malcolm was out east for a while, but now he's back home. So last Monday, Jeremy, my husband, and I were walking on Ocean Beach and saw this figure rising from the waves, and it was Malcolm just coming in from surfing. So he's around. We keep in touch with him. Big decisions like when we're going to reopen, questions like that are all done in consultation with the Dean. So though he's not fully at work, he's also not disappeared or remote, but he's there in the background doing the study that he needs to do to be the Dean that he can best be for us as a cathedral, and taking the time he needs. It's a big job. It's a lot of work and a lot of pressure leading Grace Cathedral. And we're so pleased that Malcolm is taking the time he needs to rest, refresh, study, and come back to us in September. We are launching stewardship again in September. As Steph said, we have Congregation Sunday, which is the 13th of September. So our stewardship launch will be the next week, the 20th of September. And in the last 2 years, we've just been blown away by the way that this community has stepped up for stewardship, has donated so generously, has seen this as being part of their way of being involved with Grace and involved in their walk with God. We hope that we can continue to do this even through these COVID times, and are, as we say each Sunday, and we truly mean, so grateful for the gifts. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, the people who can give 250,000, that's fabulous. If you can give $25, that is also fabulous. And we really appreciate anything that you can do to support the ministries here. I have a reminder to mention Women in Community, which is another of our small groups, another way of keeping in touch with members of the congregation. Have we been able to act on our plan to strengthen our ties with Glide Memorial? We were doing, as many of you will know, an in-person series with Glide, which we decided not to make a virtual series because it was an equity issue. Not everyone would have access to a computer and be able to take part in it. We continue to have very strong ties with Glide through Steph, who is both a Grace Cathedral core member and also on the staff at Glide. And Miguel Bustos, who is the head of social justice at Glide, is committed, as we are, to continuing to work together, to finding ways that Grace can support Glide, hopefully once in-person food programs have started again. Grace will hopefully continue to take one of the breakfast morning services, servings in a week. And we will want to continue to do social justice work with them. As some of you know, I went on the Glide pilgrimage to Montgomery, Alabama, just the week before everything went into shutdown. And I would love to see more Grace members do that. It's a very powerful experience of seeing and learning about slavery and the after effects of slavery in a very mixed group. And it was amazing. So hopefully we can do that.
Ellen, if I could suggest just to say to that, I think for anyone who's not had a chance even to visit the website for the EJI Equal Justice Initiative, which has something about the monument as well. It's those resources online as well, and just a very powerful introduction. I think certainly something that then can lead into a pilgrimage, as you say. So it's something people could even look at now.
Thank you. Next question is, are there any plans to have any online adult confirmation classes, or is this on pause during COVID time? I think that once we get Kristin back from maternity leave, we will indeed be looking at having some confirmation classes for those who are interested in confirmation, and also serving for those who just want to learn more about their faith, and particularly about their faith in the context of the Episcopal Church. As I think most people know, Kristin gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, Fiona Eleanor, about I think a month ago yesterday. So she will be off for another couple of months and be back with us in early to mid-September.
Ellen, I'm sorry, I've just got sent a question my way, I think, which surprised me. As a follow-up, what is my position at Glide? I'm adult education specialist, which means I do learning and development in-house. And also through my two hats, it's been just wonderful to be able to be involved in partnerships, and that's the one we're doing with Grace. Thank you.
And we have a last question or comment from saying, as a participant in England, thank you so much for reassuring me that online will continue permanently. Welcome, it's great to have you here. And I must say, when we talk about England, then my mind turns to the fact that there's only 2 more months that I will have with you here at Grace before we move back to England, to London. And it's going to be one of my great sadnesses that I doubt we'll be able to meet together and to say our goodbyes in person, but we will find a way of saying a goodbye before we promise not to just ghost you and disappear back to London, but find a way that I can thank you all for these wonderful 4 years that I've had with you. I'm just looking at my other computer screen. Unless we have any last minute questions, and I'll just pause for a few moments of silence in case anyone is still typing. We should have a happy hour. Yes, we should. We should have a cathedral. That would be very Grace Cathedral, very Episcopal, to have a farewell happy hour, somebody has suggested. So we will find a way to do something that is celebratory and fun in the midst of all this. And do keep your eye out for whatever we're going to do for Congregation Sunday, because I can assure you that this council will find a way to make it fun, even if it is all online. And I wanted to just finish with a final prayer for all of us in these times. So let us pray. Holy God, who created us for and from love, in this time of social distancing, hold us close in your arms. Comfort those who are afraid, enliven those who are bored, give courage to those who are distressed, and warm those who feel chilled by loneliness. Breathe in, with, and through us as we walk through uncertainty into a new future, knowing that you are with us now and await us there. In the name of Christ, the Beloved, we pray. Amen. Thank you all for being here. We're going to say goodbye for now. See you soon. Take care. And don't feel that if you didn't get your question answered or you think of something after this, don't feel you can't just email me or any of the clergy or congregation at Grace Cathedral, and we will make sure that we respond and answer your question as best we can.
Could I, on behalf of the whole congregation, slightly cheekily weigh in and say, Ellen, I know that the whole congregation is so grateful to your leadership in this time. We're sending you with prayers and love to your new home, but we are just so grateful. Personally, I'm grateful. The council is grateful. I know the congregation is. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Steph. Bye, folks.